Hi, good afternoon. It's Graham Coath here, and I'm doing a Next Stand live interview this afternoon. I'm going to be talking to David from Live Beyond. But first, this.
I need to get going, Mel. See you later.
David, thanks so much for joining me this afternoon. Where are you coming from, sir?
Myself.
Yeah, where are you right this minute?
I am in London, based in London here 10 years ago. So this is my home base.
Yeah. But you don't spend all of your life in London. No. You like to travel.
I do. Yeah. It's been one of my passions for since I can remember, and since I was able to do it on my own budget. But yes, it's one of the things that led to Live Beyond and whatnot. These days I'm not in London a lot, even with the pandemic, because my job allows me to travel, or requires me to travel, maybe the other. So yes, part-time here.
Yeah, I'm looking at the posters on the wall behind you as well. Mm-hmm. And they are very much really part of your thinking as well, you know, rethinking how we work. And that's pretty much a lot of what, you know, Live Beyond is about. One of the things that I've seen, and you've probably seen in posts during this whole pandemic, is people talking about remote working, but not really talking about remote working. And I don't know about you, but that must be so frustrating, because, you know, when people talk about remote working and all they mean is that once a week you leave the office and you go home. That's not remote working.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point. And where to start? I think what we're seeing around the world is 5 to 10 year acceleration to something that was already going to happen. I mean, if you think about location independent work, was going to be driven not by the technology, because the technology has been there a while ago, but mainly by a change in mindset in the generations that are coming into the workplace. By 2025 to 2030, more than 75% of the global workforce are going to be millennials plus Gen Zs. And we come with a different set of needs, a different mindset. And when we started Live Beyond in 2018, that was the main driver for sort of forecasting that the world would go remote. Then the pandemic happened, and it forced us to go work elsewhere, mostly at home, right? I believe home office is part of remote work, but it's only a tiny bit. I mean, when you're working remotely, you can work from your home or from a cafe or a co-working space or wherever you want. Remotely, it's just basically out of office. What have I seen over the past months or so? Because the acceleration is positive and negative. Positive in the sense that it forced companies to survive. So it forced to question those mindsets, to rethink, where am I here? rethink those paradigms of you have to be in the office, you're not productive, teams don't collaborate, all of these paradigms that existed and that had us in the office. That the pandemic accelerated that, forced leaders to rethink and adjust, because they had to, otherwise their businesses would go down. Now, fast forward a year or so into the shift, or the main shift. You've seen different discourse, people talking about hybrid models, which means 1 day or 3 days per week at the office and the others remote at home. And then people are figuring it out. So what have I seen? I've seen the camp that says, no, I don't want to go back. I want to go once a week or not. And the others that have said, no, I just don't want to work remotely anymore. I want to go back to the office. And then very sadly, this last camp is saying that because they believe that remote work is only home office, and it's not like that. They are burning out at home. Of course, they're lonely at home. The boundaries between work and life they disappear, and the whole remote work experience turns into a nightmare of home office and being locked down. That is not real remote work. So part of our job is trying to help people transition to location-independent work, be it hybrid, distributed, remote first, however you want to call it, but really not to demonize remote work as home office, which is sad because that's the negative bit. It's impacting mental health, relationships in families. When you're all the time in the same space, working, living, co-living, all of that is pretty tough. So yes, it's a very relevant conversation, because you have some companies that want to stick to remote work because it's a clear benefit to the bottom line, less costs, but are struggling with people's mental health, team collaboration, team leadership. It's a completely new thing. And that's what we need to tell the world, that this is not something that can be easily managed.
I do wonder whether so much of the issue is that it's my generation. I'm a damn sight older than you are. I turned 50 this year, but I do wonder whether the problem is it's predominantly my generation and management within my generation who did come to work with a different set of values and different set of ideals, which was kind of passed down to us, that are trying to make sense of this and trying to form the language around this. Because back in the day, I went to university. I was told I'm going to university. I go to university, I get my degree, and then you get told, when you get out of university, the thing that you got to aim for is a good job and good money and a mortgage, and then you settle down, and then that's it. And I know, because I've got 5 kids and the oldest one is at university, they don't think like that anymore.
Mm-hmm. So you've touched upon many things there. I don't blame it on the generations. I don't think this generation is responsible for this. It's just part of human nature. So 2 things there, of course. Our grandfathers and grandparents, there was war times, economic scarcities, things like that. We've been very lucky, our generations, to live in peaceful times. And I think that allows you to question more things. What am I doing in the world? What is really success? Success for my parents and their parents was you get a good job, you get a good house, you get a happy family, and then you retire. And that was the way it was. So the economic boom or safety and security of non-war, global war, plus advances in technology has driven our generations and younger generations to think differently. So where this is the main shift, and that's why when we started Live Beyond, it's a very different shift. And there is resistance from the older generations, but that's human nature, which is getting out of your comfort zone. And if they've been doing what they have been doing for years, there is some sort of fear to change things, right? When you are also leading a corporation and just to completely make your mind shift, it's hard. So this resistance will happen. If I had to bet what's going to happen in the future, I'd say people go back to the office and then they miss the flexibility. So we're going to see, I would say, a second renaissance of location flexible work, driven again by the generations. So the good news is we are 5 to 10 years ahead. There is resistance, there will be resistance, and then it's companies like ours and others helping teams and leaders adapt their own business models and their nature of their work to some sort of hybrid model or remote model or distributed model, whatever it is.
So just take us through a little bit. I mean, obviously we haven't got a huge amount of time, but take us through, how does a company like Live Beyond help that transition to happen? What are some of the key things that you help with?
Sure. So the basic premise of our existence is that remote work is not getting a laptop and sitting in a cafe. and with a good Wi-Fi connection, and that's it. No, you need to level up a series of skills. As technology advances and automation, AI, machine learning, the algorithms take over our hard skills. We need to completely shift and get a new set of skills like creativity, empathy, critical thinking, decision making, more human skills that we lost because we were just focused on the doing all the time. So this is why we exist. It's to sort of retrain and educate the future worker, which is now, or the worker of the future of work, which is happening now, with the skill sets and the habits and the mindsets that they need to thrive in this new era. So we basically developed what we call the Live Beyond method. It's based on 3 pillars. One is productivity, so the ability to focus, to get things done, meaningful things done, one day at a time, is being lost over the past few years because of the bombardment of social media, distractions. That is a skill itself, the skill of focusing and really being non-distractible. So in that pillar, we teach our teams and our people that comes through us, our customers, how to use a set of habits, routines, hacks to be able to focus. So that's one, productivity. The other one is well-being. We really focus on health optimization. When you're being location flexible and the boundaries disappear, you need to be disciplined and have a set of life habits that allow you to perform better as a human. We call this whole thing holistic productivity. So it's part your mind, so mindfulness, fitness, nutrition, and also recovery, the ability to sleep better and really recover overnight. That all goes in the well-being pillar. And then also on what we call self-refinement, which is growing as a person and as a professional as well, which now is very intertwined. We don't talk about work-life balance. We talk about work-life integration. I mean, you integrating life in a healthy way, in a meaningful way. So all of this method turns and is expressed into the world in our trainings to individuals and teams. And the way we're doing it is through week-long or 2-week-long remote work gatherings or experiences around the world in beautiful destinations. So I just came back. I'm unfortunately quarantining here at home because I just came back from Italy. We had a remote team. It was 15 of us all together, and they had a week for team building, team bonding, strategizing, practicing mindfulness, sleeping better, eating good food, exercising, and doing our workshops internal and bring other experts. So that's what we do. That's how we're helping people to do it.
And, you know, that's just so important because as I've gone through this whole last 12 months, you know, and I've listened to some stories, there's been some horror stories of people coming into business and, you know, a line manager for 6 months, not even really taking any notice of that person. And you know, so the first thing you said was productivity. I mean, all of the things that you said there, if a business was looking at that, all of those things are things that will help a business to grow.
Yes.
And will help a business to grow exponentially if they need to grow at that rate. And yet, actually, we still have this kind of mentality towards old traditional hierarchies of management and, you know, micromanagement, etc., and trying to control people. But actually, within what you're talking about as well, by creating discipline and habits within your workers for themselves and getting them to be much more self-aware and self-dependent as well, then actually you create a better workforce that will actually just perform for you without you needing to be there on top of them all of the time.
Yeah, you just nailed it, because it's what's called it's the era of self-management. And for years, across generations, everybody has always wanted to have freedom and independence and be their own boss. In this era, you have to be your own boss. That means you have to self-manage. You have to be disciplined and run the day your way, because otherwise you're gonna, fall out. The micromanagers will not survive, because that kills morale. And what really is making people thrive is the autonomy that remote work gives. So that needs training, and it's not a normal approach. Teams cannot just go remotely and say, okay, we're just going to continue doing Zooms, because then the tech fatigue comes and people are just like, I don't want to do Zooms anymore. I want to go back to the office and have the coffee with my mate and just hang out. And that's normal. So when you actually create an intentional corporate culture, an intentional leadership about providing people with autonomy, accountability, but autonomy, and training them with the discipline that they need in order to thrive as humans, that is when the economy thrives, because you're going to have happier workers, healthier workers, and more fulfilled workers. If you think about statistics across the workplace, and this is not new, this is 2 years old, a survey by Gallup interviewed millions of workers around the world, and only 15% of those were engaged at work. And that's scary, because that means the other 60 odd, 75 odd percent are either disengaged or completely non-engaged at work. And that completely affects your well-being as a human. You then go into depression, stress, because you're not connecting with what you do every day, which is working. So no wonder why we've had so much rise in stress, depression, mental health around the world. And those impacts are harder to bring back, to fix. That's why the pandemic is such an important thing to address, because of the mental health impact that will take years to recover. So yeah. Exactly.
Oh, absolutely. And over the years, I've seen some very draconian efforts at trying to control that area of non-engagement at work. Sort of like banning Facebook on any machine, or even sort of like a piece of software that comes up if you're and blacks out any kind of social media if you've been on there too long, or all of these kind of mad things. No one really kind of addressing the root of the problem, which is that why is that person not engaged if they're in this role in the first place? Why, does this person actually does this person have any kind of aligning to the objectives of this business? Do they even understand what this business is all about in the first place? Probably not, Mm-hmm. And that starts with as alongside what you're doing, there's obviously a real need for management once they start to run with that as well, to really put into place a much more fluid and organic structure of management that's much more team based, much less I, but much more we all the way around. And some people will say, well, this is great, but our team are based predominantly in Basingstoke, and we've got a couple of satellite offices. Is this really for us? But I would say probably it is, even if you've got this kind of structure, because I think with time, some of that traditional office structure will break down as well anyway. Yeah,
if it's for any knowledge worker, there's work that cannot be done if it's not co-located or synchronous. Yep. So if we're talking about the knowledge work, I'd say it's for everyone, because everyone is a human and everyone deserves to have meaningful work and be fulfilled at work and be provided with the tools and the autonomy they need to actually focus and be engaged, at the same time thrive as a human, as a person, as a parent, as a friend, as a partner. So going a little bit back to those like disengaged workers, millions of them, that doesn't talk about the talent. There's super talented people in that same camp. That's why the people talk about the race for talent, the war on talent, because getting human talent is so hard. And why Google and Facebook and all of them thrived over these past years, part of it is because, yeah, they were money-making machines, but also they were attracting amazing talent by redesigning their offices, putting ping pong tables and bean bags, and completely trying to engage. First, as you said, some companies try to ban people and prohibit them to do stuff. Companies smart like these other ones said, okay, well, we're going to make the office a fun place to be, right? That is changing. Work 1.0 is gone. Now we're transitioning to work 2.0, and that is more of the smart companies will be like, okay, you have your autonomy. Where I think most people are still lacking is that they need autonomy. Comes with discipline and it comes with training. So doubling down on that training is what leaders really need to do. They're saving millions of dollars, if not more, on office space. Well, double down on the talent, train people, skill them up, bridge that skill gap that is widening as we speak.
It's so necessary. So listen, if people want to get hold of you, do this, are interested, what's the first step for people?
First step, reach out on any of our social medias. We are on LinkedIn as Live Beyond Limited. Our website is www.livebeyond.global. You can also reach out there if you wanted to have an assessment on how your team is performing and perhaps set up one of these remote teams. We're doing things in Europe, in Latin America, and very soon in Asia as well. So reach out if you want personally on LinkedIn. Feel free to reach out, and on Instagram as well. We're in most platforms. We recently also launched our own podcast, and we're bringing world-class experts on all of these topics that I just talked about, from the startup entrepreneurs to the Shark Tank investors, to the world leaders in spirituality, on well-being, on sleep. We're bringing all of this together because we don't believe in silver bullets. We believe in 1,000 lead bullets that really level you up. So in any of those platforms, you can reach out. Very happy to speak to any, decision maker in any team, be it the CEO, VP, head of HR, anyone that's struggling with this right now, having people burning out, leaving their companies, teams decimating because they don't know how to communicate remotely effectively, not being able to onboard your new remote workers. All of these things is what people call employee experience design. And we're focusing on remote employee experience design. It's designing an entire experience for the employee that starts from the onboarding all the way to the offboarding. That idea of, I'm going to be in this company for 30 years, it's not there anymore. People come for a mission, they complete, they move on. So
you've heard it here first, folks. If you're onboarding a new member of staff, don't just give them a box of chocolates and a bottle of champagne. Nice as it may be, because that's very temporary. It's going to last 5 minutes, and it might generate a nice post on social media that gives you a little bit of glory for 5 minutes, but beyond that, it's really not going to help your staff or your business. If you want to onboard your staff properly, you've got to invest in them, and you've got to train those staff properly and your leaders properly in terms of how to do this new way of working. David, it's been fantastic talking to you today. If anybody watches this over the next 14 days, that it's on air and circulating around the social media hemisphere, and you want to know more, do just put something in the comments, and I'll make sure those comments get through to David, so that he can follow up and come back to you. But David, thanks for joining me today.
Graham, thank you for the invite. I think it's a great thing. I love what you do at Next Stand. I'm actually, my laptop is sitting on a Next Stand right now.
Well, you can tell because of the height.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant. It's compact, really. I mean, this is you didn't tell me to say this, but I will for the audience. Like, you should get one of these. I travel the world, and most people are like, "That's good," because your ergonomics, and that's another different side of remote work. thank you for that. I'm glad we chatted and looking forward for the next one.
Lovely. Thanks very much, David. Bye for now.
Okay. Bye for now. Bye.